TLDR, if you're short on time and want to hear how Bracken Darrell, Logitech CEO, is transforming forward to build a more sustainable, carbon positive business, and also hear some of his wisdom, then here's 7 minutes of his key soundbites. Now, if you do have time, you're on a run, a cycle, or drive, do check out the full episode. It's not that long. And if you're enjoying the show, please follow us, like us on your favourite podcast player, or subscribe on YouTube as it helps us grow our audience. Now, over to Bracken.
Well, I grew up in a small town in Kentucky, Owensboro. I had a single mom who my dad left when I was nine or 10 years old, and that probably made me quite independent. And then a whole bunch of things probably impacted me, including my siblings. But one of the things that happened in that year when my dad left was my mom kind of fell apart, and she had probably a nervous breakdown and had 4 car wrecks in 1 year. She would come home every night and second guess what she'd done at school that day. She was a first grade teacher, and what she said to the principal, and that her marriage, that it was over. And at some point in those conversations I had with her, and I imagine my siblings had them too, I don't know. I said to her, Mom, it's everything that's already happened, you obviously can't change. So you should just imagine you're standing on a beach, you've got a stick in your hand, and you drag that stick behind your heels. Everything behind you is just to learn from. It really, you can't change it, so you should just learn from it, and then your whole life is right here. And that's one of those fundamental tenets I've grown up with. Not just don't try to look back in the past and relive it, but also this idea of continuously starting with that line in the sand behind you. It's a chance to start over again every year, every month. And I think really having that mindset of being a beginner all the time. It reinforces not the need, but just the reality that you ought to be humble. You are not your failures, and you are not your successes. You're whatever you're going to be from here forward. We can't leave it up to governments to do the right thing. We're in a world where companies are global, and companies have incredible resources and influence on their own people and on the people around them and their customers and suppliers. And you can make a massive difference. The reason I got into this business was because you can make a massive difference from an individual company. So why in the world wouldn't you do that in places where justice really is not happening? Is it your job to try to seek justice in these jobs, or is it your primary job to seek value creation for shareholders and let society deal with the rest? I think the really exciting thing about that question is that I don't think you can separate at least 2 areas of 2 moral areas from business performance anymore. I think for certainly environmental sustainability, I think if you're not an environmentally sustainable company in the next decade, you'll be out in almost every industry. At least you'll be behind and losing ground. And I think on DE&I it will be the same. When I was an early CEO, I would go around to investor meetings with a virtual picture of a chart that showed the power of design to transform a company's value. And it showed design companies on one line, and it showed all the other companies, the Dow Jones Industrial Average on the other. And design companies got a 300% better return over 10 years than non-design companies or everybody else. And I think we could put the same chart up 10 years from now. Those that are leading the way in environmental sustainability and DE&I will way outperform the others. And that's a leap of faith. It was a leap of faith for me on design a long time ago, but I was right then and I'll be right now. I think design and design thinking are not, it's not sort of here's what you do and then you've completed it and you're a design thinking organization. I think it's a pathway to something much better for your users, and I believe for your shareholders and your employees and the planet. And there are three areas that you really have to think about when you're designing something for any individual user. The first one is, what do they want? And often what you think you want, you don't really know what you want. If I ask you what you want in a mouse, I bet it'd take you a little while to come up with something. But I bet if I watched you and maybe gave you some things to do, and I bet I could figure out what you want even more than you could. So because I'm an expert in this business, in this product. So what is the desirability of the product? The second one is the viability of the product. Can you do it? Is there technology to push you out there to do that kind of thing? Can you do it at the cost you need to do that? And there are a couple more, but one of them that we've added is the environmental sustainability of the product. So is it good for the planet? Is it less bad than the prior version? Oh, we will get to less bad. So design for sustainability is part of design thinking now, and for good people who really believe in design in its purest form. It started with Dieter Rams, who was a great industrial designer, who one of his principles of design was design should be responsible to the planet. So I think design and design thinking can really be an incredible tool for any organization. And you don't have to start with a big design team, which I do have now. But when we started, we had nobody. And you can start small, but you can make a mighty impact. And everybody can be a design thinker, every single person, because at the end of the day, we're all experimenters. And that's the most important part of design thinking. I, I actually don't think we should use the word failure or success. I think they're really dangerous concepts. I mean, everybody seeks success, but the minute you have it, you try to protect it, you lose a lot of the independence and experimentation that got you there. And then failure is terrible because you try to avoid failure because who wants to fail? And I think these are both just learning experiences, and they're just descriptions of something that's already happened. So what we try to do is experiment a lot. So we have this model we call trees, plants, and seeds. Trees, the big businesses that are mature, and the plants are fast growing businesses that we invest in. And seeds are the new ones. These are the ones that are really relevant here. The ones where we create small teams and we just experiment with users and try to create something that's really unique and different and powerful. And we have between 5 and 20 new categories in development at a time, and they're run by sometimes just one person, often by entrepreneurs, but not always. And they often don't make it out of the starting blocks, and there's nothing wrong with that. We give the teams a bonus if they don't make it out, and we move them on to other things, and we try to make it not feel like a failure if it doesn't work, because we're going to have a lot of those. That's by design. That's the way creativity happens, as Ed Catmull said. Well, I try not to encourage kind of the all shocks. It was nothing, kind of humility, which is the false humility of, let's not pretend, let's pretend we didn't do something good, because it'll look like we're humble. What we do have a value we specifically call out, which is humility. But we partner that with another value, which is hunger and drive, real hunger. So but when we talk about the humility, we don't talk about it as, oh, yeah, we're great, but we don't feel great. It wasn't. We don't talk about it that way. We talk about it completely as a realization that we have a lot to learn. That's the key. It's about that's humility is based on the fact that you just don't know as much as you need to ever, and you have to keep striving for more understanding.
Okay, that's all for now, folks. Now here's my ask of you. Please follow this podcast on Apple or Spotify or whatever player you use. Also, please subscribe to our new Random Collisions newsletter. We really are working to build a global community of action takers, action engines of people that really care about the problems that need solving. Thank you very much, and see you next time.